meeting to order, please. First thing we need to do is a motion to reconvene open session.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. And it is 7:04. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Very good. Okay, we'd like to welcome you to our meeting this month. It's nice to see all your smiling faces. If you would stand with us as we say the pledge, we would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'd like to recognize our two new student advisors this evening. We have Josh Lockamy, everybody, and Molly Dooley. So this is their first night on sitting on the board tonight. So we're glad that you're here. Welcome.
All right, special recognitions this evening. This is the week, January 21 through 27, and it has been set aside as School Board Recognition Week. The collective goal of all school districts in the state of Missouri is to build awareness and understanding of the important function of an elected Board of Education and what it plays in the communities of our schools. As such, at this time, we wish to present each member of the Board of Education a certificate that recognizes their individual and collective service to Hillsboro R3 School District. In addition, a proclamation has been issued stating appreciation for their service to public education. So please join me in giving them a round of applause for their efforts.
Okay.
All right, and next special recognition. In April 2018, at the joint spring conference of the Missouri Association of School Administrators and Missouri School Public Relations Association, in memoriam will be given to the late Dr. James Saharsky in recognition for his work, dedication to the field of education. This nomination was made by the Greater St. Louis region of the Missouri Association of School Administrators. Dr. Saharsky served in various educational roles around the area, but specifically was known as being the former superintendent of Hillsboro Schools, Bayless Schools, and Missouri Schools for the Blind St. Louis. On behalf of the Hillsboro Schools, we offer our warmest condolences to the Saharsky family during their time of loss. Please join me in giving a round of applause in memory of the late Dr. James Saharsky. Thank you. Oh, I about forgot. Mr. Riedenauer. Mr. Riedenauer received the prestigious award.
Yes.
Very excited. Last Friday night he was nominated by the Greater Area Chamber of Commerce of Hillsboro as Citizen of the Year. So please.
You always knew we liked him. Okay. Next, we will be having visitors address the board this evening, and I want to give some information before those visitors come forward. I want you to know that you'll be given 3 minutes. You'll be sitting here or coming up to the front and at this little desk. Limit your comments to the topic that you're bringing forth to the board. It's possible that the board president can interrupt you or your comments if you should get into something that you shouldn't. And the last item is that the Missouri Sunshine Law limits the ability of board members to respond to your comments. Consequently, it is unlikely that the board will engage in a discussion of your topic during this meeting. May or may not. Okay, so first visitor would be MSTA. Don't know who's working. Oh, there we go. Our fun ladies are coming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Noel Warner and Rhonda Harrison. We are co-presidents of MSTA this year. We would like to recognize you for all the hard work that you do for our students, our teachers, and our community, and we thank you for your dedication and appreciation. We made a donation in your name to our backpack program for our students who need meals to sustain them through the weekend because maybe there's not enough food or supplies in them. So that donation was made in your name to the backpack program for $100.
And there's a letter in there to tell you more about the donation you made.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next visitor would be Mary Stevenson, and it has to do with Dr. Susan. It's one of my favorites.
I don't need to sit. Normally I have a piece of paper to give you, and I don't have that yet, but I want to invite you all on behalf of the primary staff and the group that's coordinating Dr. Seuss Night. It's on Thursday, March 1st this year, and in the past we've had several of your wonderful selves there to read to us, so if you would like to come and join us again, we would love to have each and every one of you, administrators included, feel free to come join us. It's always a great time, and it's a great community event, so thank you so much.
Thank you. And the third member, or visitor, is Deanna Hood from HNEA.
Hi.
Hi.
We would also like to show our
Thank
appreciation
you.
for all your hard work. And we have a poem token of appreciation for you.
Right
There
there.
you go. There you go. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate all your thoughtfulness. Okay. That then gets us to the consent agenda for this evening. So there were a few things for you to have read through and looked at through the consent agenda. The first thing I need to know, though, is do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
I just thought maybe some clarification needed to be made on H, overnight trip requests.
Okay.
They're reversed, but I don't know if that needs to be corrected or not, but the information for the Winter Guard Regional Championships is actually down in the State Leadership Conference and vice versa. So
We can still approve it.
Yeah, right. We can, as long as you're aware of that.
okay.
I move to accept consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. And second was Eric. Any other questions or items to discuss off of the agenda, the consent agenda? Consent items. Everybody good? No questions? All right. All in favor of approving the items by consent? Raise your hand. All right. Excellent. Okay, that gets us into reports then. We'll start with Dr. Clemens.
All right. Just a couple of things I'd like to point out. Please take an opportunity to read about the MSBA awards qualification. We received an email, I'm sure most of you did as well, about what was left in order for the board to be nominated for the Governance Team Award. So if you are interested in completing any one of those requirements, you have questions, please reach out, let myself or Beth Johnston know so we can investigate that for you and get you the information you need to make a decision on what activities you want to participate in or any hours of advanced board member training. Other than what's on the list tonight, you're going to start receiving quite a bit more from me on legislative bulletin, legislative updates. There's so much going through the state legislature now on legislature on things that are going to be impacting schools, whether it be voucher programs, transportation funding. So many things are going to be coming down that I'll try to keep you abreast of those. And as soon as all the bills are filed and the last date to file is marked off, then I'll start sending the bills to read if they impact the district. So if you start getting a plethora of emails, please glance through them or just let me know the things you're interested in reading. I do want to update you. If you remember at the last meeting, we spoke about the removal of our memorial markers and trees that are going to have to be moved, right, Ray, for lack of a better word. There are a couple of trees I'd kind of like to save. I don't know if it will be possible. The memorials, of course, we can just place in a different area once our facilities are finished and we can have those done. One was Carolyn Grace Manning that was placed in 2001, 2009, and that's on the west side of the primary building. A couple more. We have 2 trees. Is it 2 trees or 1, Ray? Oh, at the elementary.
2.
We have 2 trees that were planted with seeds for the Laura Ingalls cottonwood, and I'd kind of like to save those if we can down in front of the elementary, but I don't know if we can or not. We're going to have an arborist look at those and see what their thoughts are if we can transplant those trees. If not, then they will have to be taken out in order to for our plants. One of them is pretty big. I don't think the big one will be able to be saved, Ray, but maybe the smaller one. They were planted in 1991. Is that right, Ray? So just a reminder, if someone is concerned that memorial markers being removed at the primary or the elementary, you're aware, you can give us a call and we can talk to them about that. Another thing that we've been looking into, and I really appreciate all that Regina Phillips, Transportation Director, has been sitting down, talking with us, visiting. The topic of discussion at one of the board meetings was about bus cameras and to do an assessment on what our cameras are looking like, numbers that aren't working. We sat down earlier this week for a final review. We talked about this prior to Christmas. We visited about it again. We had 3 buses that were having camera problems out of the fleet. And by the time Regina got back to the office, the 4th one had gone out. So what we're trying to do is evaluate how can we get the cameras up to date. And our issue is sometimes it's a camera that goes bad and sometimes it's the entire system. If it's the entire system, of course you have to replace the system. We had 1 system in stock and we have to order 2 more in order to get those things up to date. Now, 1 camera system, Regina, is about $1,400, is that right? $1,478. Right now, if we want to install all the systems, we need 18 new systems. It costs us about $26,000 to update all the old systems on the buses. Now, what's been happening is some systems have been updated as we go. So we have 45 total buses. Some of them have an HD system, an SD system. Now, that's something that Mrs. Ginge and I, as well as Regina, have been discussing how can we get that funded in the future. Right now, we're wanting all the cameras to be up and running and then start planning for the future of how we can replace the other 20 systems that are needed. Regina, anything you want to add to that? The 3 that aren't working, we had 1, the camera in back was blurry. 1 wasn't looping correctly because they record and they can record over themselves, but it keeps changing the date. So it's reading December 2005 or something like that.
Right, the hard drive is just corrupt, and the bad part is that I can't just replace the hard drives anymore. I reached out to Kathy Ringo. We even tried getting some from Micro Centers and putting that software on a different hard drive, and it just is not gonna, it just won't go. We're just corrupt. We're so old.
So in essence, we were able to order some new systems. So we have basically 20 buses with 1 set of system and then 25 buses with a different system. So as the systems are going out, we're able to replace them. And there's some features on the new systems that allow us to zoom in, zoom out, different capabilities. They're HD. So we're excited about the new system, but you know they cost. They cost. So that's something we'll need to be planning for in the future. And an expenditure maybe in the summer. The hard part is it takes, do you tell me about a day, a bus a day?
It takes about a day, day and a half.
Per bus. So you really can't be taking the buses off route. So we're hoping for a maybe June, July replacement schedule. But that's the information on the bus cameras.
Question real quick, how long is that data retained for? Does it record over each other each day?
No,
Or do you retain
it
that
builds
for-
up. Virginia, talk to them about how the recording loops over. How many days can you go before it starts over again and records over everything?
The old HD systems would hold about 6 days. It depends on the size, on the new ones, it depends on the size of the SD card that you have to put in there. The ones that we have right now has a 64 gig, and then, of course, how the quality that you're going to store. So if you put it on very good, you're only going to get 18 hours. If you put it on normal, you're going to get 60 hours. It just depends on the quality that you're requesting that SD card to hold. We're going to set up so that they're at 60 hours. So it's going to be good quality because the cameras are 1080.
1080i.
So they're still going to get really good quality, but we're going to be able to store more time on these new ones.
But if there's, I don't know, a route in question or a problem, you can pull that particular footage and save it someplace else.
Correct. We can pull it out and save it and put the SD card right back in the bus,
Right.
and that makes it nice, yes.
So right now, out of all of our buses, we only have 3 that are not functioning.
4 now, but we have
4.
one system in stock.
Okay, so there's only 4 buses that don't have
Yes, ma'am.
cameras. Okay.
Well, they might have them, but not operating
But every
appropriately.
other bus is operating.
That is correct.
Yes.
Is there a way to tell if you're sitting on, one of the benches in the bus, if the camera is not operating?
No, they can't, no, you can't tell via the camera unless it's dark and the IR is kicked on, because then the little red lights on the IR would be showing for students to see that that IR camera is working. The only light that you would know is the driver on the bulkhead, the actual system. If that light's not on, that camera's not working.
Well, I was just thinking as a passenger riding the bus, would I be able to
The
tell?
only way is if it's dark and they can see those IRs, those red lights on each camera. That would be the only way they would know.
All right, another topic of discussion was putting in a left-hand turn lane out in front of the Learning Center. I think Director Heine brought that up. Ray has done some investigating with MoDOT standards and measuring, and as soon as the weather gets a little bit better, we're going to put that lane in there.
I thought he already
So-
put it out there.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Hey,
there.
We talked about it last Saturday, but I thought it was raining and
It's
you couldn't do
there.
it. I know I told you to do it, but hey, man.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Johnny on the
Yes,
spot.
thanks a lot,
I didn't know you were
Ray.
Ray on the spot. Thanks, Blake. All right. Well, okay, let's go ahead and move on. Next is the security van. We have had 6 weeks without a security van. We've been moving, shuttling vehicles, for lack of a better word, vehicles around, taking some out of our PD rotation to where staff are having to take their own vehicles. We've actually swapped some with transportation and with maintenance, trying to get a vehicle so we can still take care of the security duties. We need a vehicle. We got $2,100 for the old van after it was wrecked and your $1,000 deductible. We've not found anything as of yet, but we have located a couple of vehicles around that $10,000 mark that we would like to move ahead and try to find something, or it's going to be another month, or we'll have to have a special meeting to approve the purchase. That would be a budget amendment. You have not budgeted for that this year. So we found vehicles ranging from $9,000 to $1,200, and we would like to use that $2,100 to offset the cost. So we're right around that $7,000 to $10,000 mark. We've called around, we're having trouble finding vans. We're looking more at some type of crossover utility vehicle, whether it's a Liberty, Jeep Liberty to a Ford Edge, that will still give enough trunk room to haul the cones and things that need to be moved around campus, boxes when we transfer kids from building to building, but also they need enough seat belts that we can transport students home. So that's another big debate. Most of the vans we found are ranging anywhere from $19,000 to $22,000. The discussion was, should we just buy a newer model van and put it in the rotation for our PD, take one of the older vans out and use it for the security vehicle? So either way, we're still trying to stay around that $10,000 mark for now. But we need a little bit of direction, because if y'all are okay with us going out and getting something $10,000 or less, If you want us to bring it back to you next month, we can do that as well.
If you trade a PD van and you put a new one into the PD rotation, does that change? Money-wise, we can't. We don't have money set aside for
Correct.
that.
We don't have money budgeted for that.
Right.
Yes.
But I didn't know if it somehow can be related to PD one.
Well, the problem you run into is that it's not just for PD. You
Because
know,
you use it for
because you
other
use it for coaches going on to clinics
Okay.
or coaching, you know, it's not just our, the ball games. So
Well,
we
it's just-
couldn't, it was a good thought, but you know, we
Looking for money.
couldn't. Looking for money that,
Grants. I'd like to see you bring us back some options.
all right. That's
Look at
what
those
we
options next month and vote on them then.
All right. That is what we will do.
And then financially, show us where that's going to come from.
Okay.
So,
So I'll wait a couple of weeks. Our issue might be, I mean, we might need to have a special meeting because I don't know that these dealers are going to wait 30
Right.
days before, they're not going to hold a vehicle for us that long. So, okay.
We could do that.
All right, the last thing, one of the discussions, sent home a notice to our parents about our bus accident that we had here on campus last week before last. We've been having some discussions on our reporting process with regard to externally communicating with parents. After our accident, kind of an update, the parents of the children on the bus, we've not heard from anyone on the bus. I did hear from one local patron on my message I sent out. If you have any thoughts, get in touch with me. We have workforce communication. Does not have any students that attend our district, but does live in the district. What we noticed and some of the things we're working on, we had one parent that was posting information that still didn't have updated information that we're still trying to get. So one of the issues we're seeing is that maybe we need to start coming back at the second semester and contacting parents about updating information. That's a huge issue that we're seeing in the district. People swap phones, where they have Go phones, track phones, or their phone dies, they get a different phone line, and they're not updating that, and we can't get timely information out to them. So that's one thing we're working on. The second thing is, when we have a situation like that, trying to have a point of contact, whether it's whomever, to make sure someone in the central office, to get the voicemail out to parents immediately. Our concern with that, and what I wrote to the parents was, we don't want to incite fear because parents are going to know what happened. Well, we don't know what happened until we get there and investigate, determine what happened prior to relaying information. So we don't want to start causing fear and panic, but yet we also want to communicate effective, timely information. I was asked by a board member if I would kind of mention this and if there was any thoughts or comments on how we handle bus accidents, what our process is. We can kind of talk through that with you this evening if there's any questions.
I have a question. Is there a way for parents to update their information through our app?
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can you address?
It's not really through the app, but they can do it through the parent portal. All they do is do it online, and a request comes through to the registrar, and at that point, she approves it. And then it automatically updates the information.
Is there a way to communicate that out, like mid-year, every year, to encourage parents to update their
Sure.
information?
I think that, and I want to say that for the most part, I think parents are diligent to do that, but that's really not on the forefront of their mind. I need to
Right.
call school and update my contact information.
Well, every time I take my children to the doctor, I have to update the information.
Right.
It would just be nice if there was a way for us to have that steady routine of asking them to do it.
Okay?
Well, and there can be emails and addresses too.
Correct.
Updated.
If we're constantly asking them and they don't do it, we've done everything we can at
Sure.
that point. But we need to be asking for that.
Well, but there should have been emergency contacts and things too. I mean, it wasn't just one phone.
There were, and that's one thing that I felt was a misconception, that once we got one phone call out, and it's one of those learning as you go kind of things. As we're trying to call the parents, we realize this is taking too long. We've got to come up with a different process. So that's when we stopped it and all called to everyone. after we had the list, I appreciate those administrators, of those buildings, making personal contact with those parents. They called them, and those they couldn't get, they left messages, or they called emergency contacts, and still, we haven't gotten a hold of some of them. And we're still reaching out. So I guess the point is, we are having to evaluate the way we do things. And as I wrote and said to everyone, you know, we can always improve as a district, and we're working toward that. Evaluating what we can do better.
So walk me through the process. Does each bus driver, have a register on them of the students who should be on that bus? Walk me through that.
We have rosters. There's also rosters at, digitized at the, well, Regina, why don't you answer that down at the bus garage? Talk about how, what is on a bus as far as rosters with kids' names.
The bus driver has a bus seating chart on the bus where so that the sub is on it, they know where those students are sitting, plus, you know, they have their name tags and all. They also have a bus roster at the beginning of the year, and then we do state count, so that gets updated. In fact, we're getting ready to do one for February. Once that comes in, then Debbie will sit down and, you know, remove students, add students that are needed. And that bus roster is then printed out again for the driver for their route book and for the bus. They also have a little packet that's all the emergency information for an accident, and that roster is folded and stuck inside there and placed on the bus in a safe location.
So then we take that and we have to start calling kids name by name, say who's on the bus, who's not on the bus. Or a student that might be on the bus that has a bus pass from one of the buildings that's name's not actually on the roster. So we have to get their name on there. And I think we had about 7 or 8 names of, and then you have kids that move in and it's not updated yet. You know, we're still getting information down to transportation. So once we have those names, we have to go back, and I was standing at the door talking to Kathy and talking to Scott on the cell phone, trying to build the all-call list from 3 buildings for each one of the students listed. And I think that Director President Welker asked me, she said, can we do that already for each bus? Well, we probably could, but as much updating as there is, you can constantly be updating 45 buses lists of trying to keep that information
My
current.
suggestion was it be like an infinite campus list, and the bus driver could update it, you know, take a name and check, you know, do attendance or whatever. And
Can I offer a suggestion?
Yes.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because it's kind of been bothering me a lot. And what I ended up doing is just recently did this and just talked to transportation about it, but I uploaded all the bus numbers into Infinite Campus. Again, as Doc said, the problem is those kids are coming and going out of it. But I also spoke to Debbie Spiller and asked her if she would be willing to keep it updated. I don't know how many of those changes occur, how often, and how much of a job that's going to be to keep those updated. Still not going to be the end of the solution. You got those extra riders on the bus, and do you want those calls going out to the kids who weren't on the bus that day? So that's another issue, because you can run an ad hoc report that will just show you everybody who's on bus, you know, 24 or whatever. But now, do I want that call to go to a kid who isn't on the bus? So there's a lot of, and then you have to uncheck their name. Either way, this is not going to be easy. Not going to be easy. It's going to take some time.
Well, but it'd be a place to start,
Yeah.
I think. And then you have those lists already generated.
And it is uploaded right now. We just did this. And so now we're working towards trying to keep it updated. But
Sure.
again, it's still going to be,
Well, there's going to be lots
Problems.
of kinks and things to figure out, which you'll do as you use it.
right.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is.
And I think that's one of those trial by error. You know, you make a mistake, you go back, reevaluate, and reassess, and try to make different decisions. That's all we can do. We're dealing with the issue anyway, so you're trying to resolve it as quick and as safe as you can.
Could you walk me through our process, once the accident happened, how you go about determining if students are safe and who we call at that point? I know there was some discussion on whether we should have called or not called for
Right.
further assistance. Can you walk me through that?
Well, we've spent, since the accident, right, trying to go back to evaluate. Now, we're using Debbie Spiller and Melissa Genowine, who's been here 10 years. I've been here 5. Ray Bess, been here several years, trying to look back at all of our bus accidents to determine when EMS was called. When we have an accident, and correct me if I'm wrong, on campus, traditionally EMS is only called if there's a serious injury. we use our school nursing staff primarily for that. Since I've been here, we had an accident on Leon Hall that we pulled over right Scott in front of the intermediate, and we just called EMS and had the parents come get them. At that time, Ray, we believe EMS was, or that Leon Hall was owned by the city, so we consider that no longer school property. But anyway, in that instance, we called them immediately. We had an accident this year where a driver backed into a parked car at the gas station by Raintree. EMS wasn't called. Myself, an administrator, the transportation director, we go out and look at the kids and say, how are we doing? Mostly, I shouldn't say mostly, quite a few times we directly call the parents from there. We will have transportation department call the parents because when you're on the route, you don't have as many kids. You can call those parents immediately. They come and get their kid themselves and assess, I want an ambulance called or I want to take them myself. And that's one of the things we're noticing is it's different depending upon where you are. If you're close to campus, they've always utilized the school nurses, RNs, to make the decisions of calling them. When we had the accident on Leon Hall, I called them. I said we called them, even though we had our nurses there at that time. There have been instances where, Regina, correct, we've had accidents out on the road, the police were called, EMS wasn't called, the students were transported to school, and then the nurse evaluated them here.
That's right.
So again, we're all over the place. We're just trying to determine when to call, when's the best time to call. And I appreciate Director Heinrich's expertise. We talked for a while the other day on the phone of our medical field, what would be the best thing for the district to do? And I made the comment, anytime the bus hits metal, well, what if it hits a tree? I mean, and then we've had ambulances called when a car drove underneath the back end of the bus. But the ambulance was called for the driver of the car, not for our kids.
That's right.
So it kind of is skewing our data of what our process actually boils down to. And that's taken us some time to work through that.
I know you go to the Jefferson County Superintendent's meetings. Can you, I guess, brainstorm with them or find out how they follow procedures and bring that back to us so we can make sure that they may be doing something that we haven't thought of?
Okay?
But I think it'd be interesting to see how all districts are doing it, to see if we're in line
Okay?
with the standard, process, or if we need to reevaluate that process.
All right. We can do it. And I can report that back to you next month.
I just think we should evaluate that and look at it closer to make sure.
I could get it to you
Process.
sooner, but it's open session, that wouldn't be executive, so I won't be sending out an email, it will be the next meeting, I can get that info for you.
In fact, I'll just say again, I think the best thing to protect the district is to call 911. Because they will be the professionals that'll assess, and if the children are determined to be able to transport home via bus, and then the parents are unhappy with the decision, that won't be reflected on us.
Okay?
But I know
So
that's
who
a
gets-
policy we could talk
Who
about.
gets charged? I mean,
The parents,
so the
Not the
parents will
district.
have to pay for
if
it.
the student's
But that's-
transported,
If the decision's made to transport, that's, the EMS, they still, if it's not life-threatening, they'd have to call the family anyway, and then they can make the decision. It wouldn't be our decision.
And I know the concussion aspect had been tossed around a lot, but EMS can't determine if it's a concussion. Yeah, for a while, so.
and like I said, I'm not about
I just
past
need
practices.
reliability.
Right, all I know is this is the way it's always been done. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't need to change.
Right.
And I'm fine with evaluating that, but I want to be clear that that's what our practice has been. And if a practice needs to be changed, I'm all for it. And we can get other information, report back, let you know. And that's one of the discussions we had was,
Yeah. And you're
do
not
you
gonna
always
please
call
everybody.
911? Do you always call 911? If you back into a mailbox, you call 911. And my thought is this, if you're going to do it, you do it. Because it's hard to say, because you get back into that administrative decision. You're still back in the same point of, when do we call them? That's,
People will be unhappy either way.
oh, I guarantee you they will.
But I think we should review the process.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am, that's it.
Just go back to the benign question here. The MSBA award per se, Lisa and I are going to the legislative day, so that's going to be satisfied. The other one, May 2nd, is our Region 7 meeting, so you might want to put that on your calendar. We went last year, and I know that
Had a good time,
has to be, I think the deadline is May 1st, so I'm going to assume that we already qualified, but I haven't checked it out. So May 2nd is regional meeting, it's a Wednesday night.
May 2nd?
Yes.
When do those requirements
Webster
have to be
Groves.
met for us to be recognized as a government
It's
school?
before that day.
I think it's May 1st is the deadline.
You have to have,
Yeah, but we went last year, and I just haven't taken time to,
To follow up if that would meet that criteria.
so we just need someone else.
yeah.
So this is the, we talked before, reading the books and writing the
Yes,
report.
right.
One other person needs to do that. But
I have the
don't want
books,
to-
Rob.
I'll do it.
Yeah. I have the books. It's a dinner meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll move now to the report from Director Best, Facility and Grounds.
Did we touch on the EPA football?
You can have Ray touch on that. EPA.
I can run that if you like. Thank you, Dr. Good evening, everyone. Well, as you can see on my report, it's pretty quiet all last month. All we did was about cold weather, as you can tell. With the weather like it was, HVAC was kind of a touch and go in some areas. We lost some systems, we gained some systems, we rebuilt systems, so it was quite a challenge. But Justin Lawson, who's our senior HVAC tech, did an outstanding job. We did get some extra hand support from our other techs that we have, our maintenance techs. And we tried to maintain all the systems. We got still a few down. This one's down in this room, if you not notice, it's already so cool. But the firebox went out on this one, so we're working on it. But there's some systems out there that we're running into problems with that we are definitely going to have to start addressing for the next budget coming up. Our concern is the age of these and mostly getting parts. We can fix anything if we get parts. So anyway, something we have to look at as a district and as a division to verify that we're going to be able to fix them or not. We're definitely going to have to look at funding soon on that part. The other thing we looked at this past month basically was a lot of design work with the help of the building administration and the primary, the junior high, and the elementary, along with our district architects and engineers that's been on staff and on our premises a lot this past few months, and they're here tonight to give us another presentation of where they're at. I'll leave that to them. PSI was here over Christmas break and New Year's break, in the coldest part of the year, I think. Happened to bore the hose for the ground and get the soil samples, which they've done. They got their report back. So, and it all looks good. I think Roy might touch on that here in a little bit, but it
I hope,
looks
because
good.
I couldn't understand it.
It was pretty amazing.
It was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What did
It was
they bore
good.
the holes with when it was like 10 degrees?
They have a drill that goes down and everything.
So
And that's pretty neat. But I felt sorry for those guys being out there. Of course, I was standing there with them, so I kind of felt bad.
For yourself,
Bad day, guys. But anyway, but it looks good. I talked with Chris a while ago. He'll probably may touch on it. There's not the engineers, as they go farther, will address the board. But I can tell you this, looking at the report, some of the structuring they're going to be doing at the junior high to reinforce that wall that we're all concerned about. Looks like they've got a pretty good plan of it. But I'm kind of curious to some of all the final details, so I'll leave the engineers to explain that to me. But it looks good though, so it was a good report. We did complete about 92, almost 93% of our work orders, completing about 146, so the guys just did good in doing that part of it. So that was good. We didn't break any water lines at intermediate, even with -2 degrees and -28-degree wind chill, so we did really good. So that went well. Update on EPA. At this point, we're pretty well in a hole pattern. What I mean by that is we can't lay the asphalt. It will be done this spring. They will finish from the top of where Hawk Drive hits Stadium Drive, which is right at the top of the hill, the field house, and they'll take it all the way down to basically at the end of the pavement where it stops now. The overlay has already been fixed, the patchwork's already been done. It will come to that, and then it'll jump over top of that because it's already been done, and then complete it the rest of the way down. That bill will be picked up through EPA.
Good.
Okay? Now, how they're gonna work that out, we don't know, because they're not gonna be using the same company they did before, because they're out of the picture. But they will get it taken care of, they promise us. So, and they will have to go back and they'll finish up the roadway a little bit more, make sure that everything's right.
The gravel.
The gravel little part, yes, sir. So, they will get us taken care of and everything, so it's just gonna take them till the spring.
You'll let us know.
I'm sorry.
You'll let us know.
I will keep you well posted for sure. So, other than that, that's pretty well where we stand. Other than the fact, my team and I thank you all for outstanding job for supporting us and the Hillsboro School District. So thank you to each one of you. So,
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Ray.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Technology is up next with
Good
Gregory.
evening. We've completed 148 work orders. Regarding the smart boards and rails, all the rails have been installed. So this is kind of an update on what you got in here has changed in the past 2 weeks. And the smart boards have come in, and we plan on starting the installation of those tomorrow, since there's no school, with the day to get going on those. As far as training, we did a little change up here. Regina Moore had come to us from the Learning Center and wanted to see if somebody would come up and do a presentation for a career day. So Ethan, Mark, and Aaron Johnson went up there and did a presentation on what it takes to be in IT. And he said it was very interesting with the kids. I think they were there about an hour and a half. They had a good time for that.
I never came here.
They didn't come?
I was kidding.
Well, I don't know where they were. Okay, art room PCs were updated. We updated all of them to 64-bit to enable them to run the software that's required. And then we updated 2 of the business labs to Office 2016 to align with their textbook.
And I know one fifth grade teacher who got her rails for her smart board already and loves it.
Good, that's really good to hear.
Very happy.
Glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay. Financial report then?
Yes, Mrs. Gange is not with us this evening, but that was included in your board report. If you have any questions, we can try to discuss those, or you can reach out to her. One important thing at the bottom was the EMMA filings, which has been complete. As you know, that's required as part of any municipal bonds that are purchased by the district. So we've got that done. There's been a huge thing, and Kelly probably won't tell you, but I will. There's been some changes to the reporting process that she's having to learn some new codes. It has to do with ESSA through the federal government. They're changing coding, so she's, I know, been going to participate in a webinar on that. That's upcoming financially. And you can see the finances are tracking similar to, there's a little bit of a gap due to bond proceeds monies, but you see that steady climb that we have. We're hoping it just keeps going like right off the page, but it will taper off as we go through the month of February.
So if there are any questions, be sure to direct those to Kelly. Okay, so that gets us down. I don't think we're doing anything with our student guides tonight. You guys don't have a report, right? Okay.
No.
Do you two share the same lunch shift at school?
I have A.
I see.
So,
No, there's one in between.
All right, so maybe we're going to have to work with Dr. Freeman to figure
We're
out some
gonna-
scheduling.
Yes, sir. We've
So we can-
already, we meet on, well, I didn't meet with them today, but they meet already on Thursdays during their RTI time.
Perfect. So maybe we can talk Dr. Freeman into getting us some snacks. I'll come down, sit down with you, and the 4 of us will talk about the board process, give you a little bit of orientation on how all this flows and all that. What do you think?
Sounds great.
All right. Just coordinate with me on snacks so we get the things that.
We got
Got a
chocolate
strict
chips
list
here.
of what you like.
So, and then we'll come down, sit down with Dr. Freeman, and all of us have a little orientation, okay? All right. Now, that doesn't have to be tomorrow, but.
So they don't have school tomorrow.
Then you're free tomorrow. I'm working tomorrow, so we'll see you tomorrow. How about that?
About 7 a.m., does that work out?
7:15, I'll let you sleep in a little bit. No, we'll, before the next board meeting, another couple of weeks, we'll sit down and talk, okay? All right, thank you for your time.
Okay. We have a report from our architect this evening.
Thank you very much. Again, introductions, my name is Roy Mangan. We're with Arc Images. We have been working on I'll call it the 2018 summer projects that we've got coming up. And I wanted to give you guys an updated report on how things have been going. Let's see if this thing will work here. Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is kind of what has been going on since the last time we talked to you guys. And I'm going to run through some floor plans on the primary school, elementary school, and the junior high, and give you a kind of a tour through all the areas that we have been working on with the specific groups at each of the schools. And then I'll give you guys some information on the objectives that we've accomplished, and just touch on the budgets, and then kind of give you our next steps version of what we've got coming up. What's been going on is that we have been working very hard with Ray's group in finding information. We have been looking through all of the existing conditions with our engineers. We've been combing through all of the different schools and kind of getting above ceilings, getting in between doors and stuff. When you guys probably have the teachers' professional days, we've been taking advantage of some of those and some of the holidays. So we've been now doing a lot of that. We've actually been working closely with Ray's group on getting the facility's existing documents. He has a good grouping of existing floor plans and things in the schools that we're working on. So we're utilizing that data to get some real good information. As Ray had mentioned, we've had our sites surveyed by a surveying company, and then the geotech investigations have been down here doing the drilling. And yes, they did pick a very cold day. I was down here for the first day when they first started. It was very cold. But they got that done, we got the report back, and I know Doc and a few of you guys don't really understand what's going on, but I've heard from the engineer that it's good information, that the information was what we were looking for. There's a couple of little areas that we just got to watch as we go through, but overall, I think we're in a pretty good shape as far as the geotech goes.
I was looking for that one single line that said those 40 pages I was sifting through.
Yeah, no, there's quite a bit of information in those reports that we use. Architecturally, we don't use a lot of it, but our civil engineers use it, and definitely the structural engineers use it to understand what the loading is of the soil that we can put our buildings on. So I haven't heard back from him on anything real drastic, but he's had it for a week or so, and he said, yeah, we've got the information we need. So I feel confident we're going in the right direction. Topic of what has been discussed. We have had multiple programming and design meetings with the user groups. I want to commend your school district on great group of people. I mean, these people are passionate about what they're doing for the kids. They really want to get what is needed and not really coming at us with a bunch of wants. I mean, it's what do we need? What do we need to do? What do we need to do to get this done right? And so it's been a very pleasurable experience from our point of view, and just want to commend you guys on that. We've had a superintendent principals meeting where we talked a little bit higher level of information. We've been meeting with technology, and then we've been meeting with facilities director too on a number of occasions. We still have a couple of meetings to go. We finalized some of our drawings and stuff, and we'll be coming back down one more time before the bids are due. What are the solutions? Like I said earlier, we focused on what the needs are versus the wants, and again, that's been going really well. The collaborative effort on everybody's part has been very open. They've come up with some ideas, we've thrown some things down on the table and said, hey, what about this, what about that? And we've come together and actually formulated a much better plan than either of us being by themselves. So it works out real well. And through those solutions, we're actually creating a list of alternate bid options. I'll talk a little bit later about budgets and how we want to go out to bid and be able to create some options to where if the market is favorable, we'll be able to pick and choose from some of the items if we want to do those. Real quick on who we have been, who we've informed and talked to. We've actually had a pre-meeting with the city. They are aware of the projects. We've given them a real good comprehensive rundown of what the projects are going to be, and they didn't really come and say anything real, well, if you're going to do that, we need you to take care of this. Everything's been pretty standard, good group of people to work with. I met with the fire protection district also. They were at the same meeting, and so I think as soon as we get our plans submitted in for permitting, they'll have seen them again, and that process should go pretty well. So we feel confident there. What I wanted to do for you guys real quick is kind of run you through the plans. We've got the primary school. I'm going to let Chris with our office run you through the elementary school, and then we've got the junior high school that we wanted to kind of bring up to speed on where we ended up, because the last time we met, we had a grocery list of items. We were going to look at doing some of them we may or may not do. So we formulated really the final grocery list of items, and I just wanted to run through those with you. In the primary school, we're going through the office and nurse relocation down here on the lower right-hand corner in the noted one. The teacher's resource room area is up in here, along with the computer lab and some tutor areas.
Which is currently the administrative office suite.
Correct. That is where they're currently located. And the reason for the move to get the administration and the nurse on this side is for our secured entry to the school. So they're able to come into the vestibule, come directly into the office, and then into the school, as opposed to into the school and across the hall. So it's a much, much better design as far as security concerns are there. We have also relocated and have an area in this lower corner for your speech and OT, PT folks. So that worked out really well in that area. 5 is a art room, and then we've got our music area down in here. And then we've also have our classroom addition. I think the last time we met with you guys, we had this going straight up the page with kind of a gap in the middle. But since we did our site surveys, we found out that if we did that, we'd be halfway into the woods. You know, there's a road back there and everything else. And what fortunate for this is by creating this kind of jog in the building, we were able to connect that corridor to this corridor, and it worked out a lot better for security, and it really gave, I think, the principals and teachers a more secure feeling for the design of this project.
Does that allow for future growth, that design?
It doesn't in this end here, and the only future growth may have been 1 or 2 with that connection, but due to the fact of the topography and actually there was a lot of utilities back there too, just on the edge of the building, that it would not really have worked for that scenario. So I think any future growth, we would look at extending corridors out other directions. You know, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to point at you, but, you know, we would come in certain other directions for future growth. So I
That
don't,
was part of the initial thought, too.
yeah, it was, and we thought we could get maybe 2 more or our lounge or something back in there, but I think this is a much better scenario. Meeting with their user group, they were thrilled that we were able to connect those connected up. Right.
Yeah, it's better.
And the grant elevation.
Yes, and what we were doing here is, if you know this school, and you come down this hallway, there's a ramp situation that drops through to get to the lower level. Well, we were able to spread this ramp out to where we really don't need handrails, but we still have a little bit of an elevated walk. And I'll show you this here in a blow up here in a second, but we were able to get that to go up to meet both elevations of the finished floors. So it worked out, again, really well. I want to get to some of the blow up areas and just give you a little bit better tour through the areas. If we look at our administration, the main door is right through here. The vestibule comes in, goes through the main office, and you're greeted by the people behind the desk, and then you're able to then go back out into the school's main corridor. Off of this area here, we moved the nurse over to this location. We've got their work area here with the 3 cots, and then some support space with their restroom located in the nurse suite. We have a door located from the corridor here for the students, and then we also have another door located down on this edge, and when parents come up, we can get the kids to come right through the office and then back home. So it worked out really well. The principals, assistant principals, we've got a secured record storage room here, and then a SPED coordinator, and then back behind here, we've got a nice work copy area for them to be able to store papers and stuff like that with cabinets and their copier and everything back in that corner. We will have some utilities back in here, the bell and those types of things that are currently in your office get moved across the hall, and we're able to put them into this area. A couple of other blow-up areas will be the teacher workroom. We're able to come in here. Now they've got some furniture and stuff that they'll put in, but they've got their copy work areas more centrally located in this area. A little bit more counter area with a refrigerator and sink. We have 3 rooms that they were looking to get out of this program for the tutors. Currently, they sit in the hallways and they're real disruptive and everything else. This gives them the ability to come in and have some one-on-one with the students. Over in the speech and PT/OT, you can see we've got another area for a tutor, and then the OT speech office is in here, the PT area, and then we've got a little recovery room for some of the students when they need those services.
Refresh my memory, the computer lab, are some computer lab that's on parts now? Or-
Yeah. It's the room right now is, I think they used to have it, I believe, Doc, is that correct? And then they,
We are looking to implement a new type computer learning stations for the kids. All right, so this is a room we're going to repurpose, but yet it's not going to reassign any of the learning cards currently used in the classroom instruction. This would be like another, no, equipment is not built into the cost of this at this time.
Okay. So we'll be looking.
This
at
is
that
looking to the
expense.
future and preparing for more technology usage at the primary. Correct, that's a plan that we talked about, right? Dr. Wallace, that's?
Yes. And we have 25 Chromebooks now that we can actually use in there if we need to.
To get it up and running.
Get it up and running.
Something I need to, before you, could you go back one slide? I am so sorry.
I hope I can. Can you help me out there?
I just thought of something and I didn't see it, and now I'm like, where's the bathroom? And
Okay.
where the bathroom?
For
Especially
the nurses
office.
here,
Okay,
for
good.
the administration, it's this one here.
Okay, because I was just thinking about the sick kiddos and where they're gonna.
Yeah,
go.
they're kind of quarantined to that restroom right there.
Thank you.
And then the administration has the other. Now, directly across the hall, which I think might be on the next one, yeah, we have the 2 existing restrooms here.
Yeah.
We've actually incorporated 2 additional adult restrooms that are both ADA compliant for the teachers. So there's a large group of teachers over there that
Great,
do that. So, Okay. Moving on to kind of some other certain areas of the building, the art room. Again, we're creating our second art room to be similar size as the existing art room, putting in some countertops in this location here, very similar to what they've got in the other room. And then the music, who is being displaced by the office, is moving down the hall to the end and taking over the 2 rooms that are on the outer edge. We will maintain pretty much the same wall that's in there right now, so when they want to do gatherings, they can certainly do that. If they need to separate, it works out real well. So that room is very user-friendly in that all we really are doing is putting in some new finishes and creating some closets out of those cubby spaces. And then in the very back of the building, as I showed you on the overall plan, we are converting this back restroom into ADA compliant restrooms. So it helps us get to that code compliant issue that we all talk about that we wanted to have for our schools. Moving on to the addition, we have our 6 classrooms for the kindergarten, and then each classroom is identical to each other, a little bit different configuration, and it's based on the same configuration as your existing kindergarten rooms. So the only difference is that these restrooms have to be a little bit larger than the existing ones because we're making them ADA compliant. We were able to work out a nice niche area off the hallway here for a copy work area for the teachers because this is so far removed from the other work copy area that it's going to save time and effort for everybody to have. And again, a lot of the teachers were very excited to have something a little closer and not spend all their time walking. The other bonus to this area is we were able to capture a couple of additional closet spaces for storage. As you know, storage is a premium. And then also added some additional restroom areas. Since we were closing the 2 corners, we thought, well, let's build this thing out to be able to get the restrooms in there. So that gives you an idea of the primary school. I'm going to invite Chris up and let him give a rundown of the elementary school.
Thanks, Roy. So I'll give you a quick run through the various areas that we're going to in the elementary school here. We've added a new office and secured entry out front in this area right here. We've added new counselors areas and nurses office areas back to where that original office was currently located. In this area, we've added a new sped restroom for a new sped room over here. We've added a new teacher's resource area up in this location in number 4. And then we've added the new classroom addition off the back side of the building. And then we've got some restroom remodeling to get our ADA compliancy, along with an additional ADA restroom on the lower level. So we can get into some blow-ups here. We've got our teachers' workroom. We've pretty much relocated that space along with the equipment that they currently have. From what I guess I'll call the stage area right now, which is behind the library. They currently have to go up some stairs to get to that area. This gives them ADA access for their teacher resource needs. And we've also added just a little bit of casework in there to make it more functional for their use. In the main office area, we've got our secured entry that Roy kind of talked about with the primary school. Allows the kids to get in and out easily during the day, or at the beginning and end of the day rather. And during the day, we can lock these interior doors and direct visitor traffic into the main office space where they can check in and do everything they need to in that space. Then we've got our kind of reception area shown here with a little bit of file capabilities for their needs there, and a copy work area back below the reception area. And this area also includes all the teachers' mailboxes for the building, everything that they can come in and get their mail as they need to. We've also got the 2 principals' offices down below, the assistant principal and the principal's offices. A conference room for the administrative staff and their needs as they're bringing people into the space. And again, some more storage, as Roy mentioned, which is at quite a premium in all of your guys' buildings.
And that's more of your secured storage for the administration area, so they needed that.
And again, we have our sped restroom up here, which is a little larger than a normal restroom. It'll give you some opportunities for changing or additional needs that you may have with those kids. Off the back of the building, I mentioned we have our classroom addition, which is a 3-classroom addition on the lower level. As we've kind of worked through this process with our structural engineers and we've begun designing how the roof would be detailed in to attach to your existing building, we've kind of discovered that it'll be more economical and more responsible for future use if we go ahead and just shell out that second floor. When I say shell out, that just means build the walls and the windows up like we would normally would, provide that stairwell, and then just leave that as an open, kind of unfinished space.
If you remember last time during our initial review of the project, budget constraints the way they were, we were looking at doing a single story on the back end of that with designing those to have an additional floor put on at a future date. As we started to design this process, the footings, the foundations, the walls, and all of that, most of the cost is already there. So what we're looking at is a couple of additional walls because your roof is already there, we're just moving it up, so we're looking at 3 walls to bring up. Again, we're not going to build out the walls on the inside because of budget constraints, but we thought at this point it's prudent for us to probably build that shell space in place because again, the mechanical system and everything else is there. It's just that those 3 outer walls is going to be the additional cost. And I'll talk a little bit about budget, how we're going to try to utilize some alternates for maintaining that. Again, if budgets come in higher, we'll have to talk about this again.
So would they have access to that,
Yes.
that they could become a junk room?
It could be.
We're all thinking the same thing.
But the floors finished and the walls are.
Right.
So right now, we'll have the floors, it's going to be a sealed concrete, we're going to have a ceiling in there, a laying ceiling with some sporadic lights, fixtures, that it'll be like this, but maybe not as bright as we would if we were to put a classroom level of lighting in. It's enough to where you can walk through. Yes, it can be used as a big open room, and there is a stairwell that will exit out down to the lower level. But we, again, when the future comes and they want to make 3 classrooms out of it, they'll be able to come in and just build the walls inside, redo some ceiling work, a lot of those things, but the base will be there. We're hoping to make that a usable, functional space. But yes, I would imagine they're not going to leave it empty
No.
for too long.
It'll have to be cleaned out to be used.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Moving on to the nurse and counselors area, which is going back into where their existing offices are currently. We've got our new nurse area here with 3 cots and kind of a work area up here and a typical refrigerator and sink for the nurse. Pardon me. We've got our ADA toilet down here. And then we've got some additional storage and kind of an isolation area down here in case somebody's a little more sick and you kind of need to get them away from the other kids. In our counselors area, we've got locations for both of the counselors, the main counselor and the part-time counselor, as well as office for the home care specialist, which is attached to this backpack storage area, which we heard from earlier today. They need a lot of room for their send-home program. And then we also have an additional staff toilet right here. Lastly, in the elementary area, we've got some ADA restroom renovations, both in the upper level and the lower level. This is that additional boys' bathroom that we're adding down the lower level to again, kind of help us meet code compliance with the amount of fixtures that are necessary in the building per code. And one of the alternate bid items that we've kind of been talking about is opportunities to possibly pursue in the future are some fixture upgrades and some new toilet partitions and finishes and some of those other restrooms, as you all probably know, are a little
Weird, worn,
correct.
outdated, yes.
Right. That's it.
Any questions on the elementary? Running through the junior high, again, as you remember, the junior high, we had a lot of items on the list that we were trying to get that one updated. Again, we'll have the existing office, we're expanding that office to show you a nurse area that we're going to combine in there. We've got the art room and computer room. The user groups wanted to have that flipped location-wise because of the use of this room here for the STEM program and the computer labs. It made a lot of sense for their curriculum to actually have that computer lab up in this location as opposed to here. And we've got our art room situated down on this lower corner here. We have our classroom addition located in this left-hand side. As you remember, I think that this kind of went back a little bit further on the addition from the last set of plans that you've seen. But during our site surveys and investigations of the soils, we determined that by building back here where the science rooms back here would not be prudent. Okay, it would not be a good thing to do just because of the soil remediation that would need to be done to assure something to be able to stand on that back area. And by creating this a little bit larger move to the left here, it actually created a much better centralized classroom layout for the programs that they have in their curriculum. On the end, we have a home ec room, which we're pulling the use out of this room and getting them into the main school. And then we have a sped room here for the use of their teachings. On the back side, obviously, is your existing science rooms. We have met with the science group, and it's a great group of teachers. Again, that passion that I talked about earlier is really evident in your teachers. We're working with them to get some updated facilities for them on the science rooms. And then over in this area here, again, we talked to you earlier about the mechanical system, the bleachers, and then we're taking the girls' locker room out and creating an addition onto your school with a locker room, multi-purpose room, and weight room. And I'll show you some blow-ups here in a second. And then we've got our boys' locker room that we're renovating and creating a single locker room as opposed to two of them. And then we're doing some ADA restroom upgrades. Okay, looking at a little bit more specifically the main office, again, we're reworking this large entry to the school and creating a single door access so these can be locked down once school starts, and then access is through here. We're creating glass so that the people in the main office can see who's coming to the door. Again, high importance to the security aspect of it. The assistant principal and principal are right up here on the front edge. They have a conference room again for their needs, a work copy area that's accessible from the corridor for teachers, and then also from the inside of the administrative suite. A secured record storage area, and then the counselor offices along here with their waiting and work area here. The nurse is also moved to this location. And again, as the other schools have, we wanted to create a 3-cot scenario with a work area here and her desk, accessible from both the corridor side and the administrative suite for when parents come in and need to take their kids back. Some of the other blow-up areas, the additional classrooms that we're putting out on the left side, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4 standard classrooms, along with, I labeled that wrong, that's my fault, I can't find anything else. That's supposed to be sped. And then this is the home ec room. We have designed it very similar to what you have with the 5 different pods of kitchen areas, along with a large area for sewing equipment and some movable tables in that area. We have incorporated additional restrooms. As we said in the very beginning, this one is woefully short of count of restrooms, and this new one will be ADA compliant also. Again, one of the alternates that we're looking at putting in will be the art room. When we're switching that, they've got a little storage area and some counter space for utilization during art class.
Question.
Uh-huh.
I'm over here.
Sure. Go back.
You're dating yourself, first of all, when you call it a home ec room. It's
Probably
FCCLA, I'm just, sorry, I had to mention
apologize.
that. I'm retired, I don't care anymore. So is there no storage in that room? Or is that a cabinet, floor-to-ceiling
In
storage
this
all the
room
way
here?
around?
They have cabinets that come along, wall
So
cabinets.
is that, okay,
That
that's what
are
I was-
along this area here. Now, the base cabinets is really not base cabinets, it's countertop for the sewing machines to go in that area. And so we do have storage in all the kitchen areas. And we do have a storage closet back in this back corner for them to also store. So, utilizing as much space as we can.
I'll tell you it's not enough, but that's beside the point.
Okay. As far as the science room goes, again, we work with the science groups, and in the 8th grade, we have the stations very similar to what you've got now, but brand new. And the teachers center, they wanted to have it back here so they could do their demonstrations in the back of the class next to all of the lab areas, which frees up the front area again for your desks, for your book learning and everything there. So they're pretty much a mirror image of each other. 7th grade is very similar in that we've got the sinks on either side of the wall with the classroom being able to utilize for that. And then the computer lab, again, moving from the current location to this back corner next to the STEM areas. In the boys' locker room, again, like I said, we eliminated that center wall and created a single area for the boys' locker room. We have 2 coaches' office with their restroom, 4 showers in this location, and all of the lockers that they are requiring and the benches for that. We had to add another door to go out in the hallway for ADA accessibility. The current door situation that is in this location and this location are not big enough for the wheelchair access, so we had to add a little bit more to that area. And I think it works out real well because it helps us create I'll call it janitor's closet, storage closet in that area, so it's going to be convenient for cleanups and what have you for that corner of the building. The ADA restrooms that we talked about improving will be down here in that hallway. The boys and girls get an improvement on that. And then the gym addition, again, we have the girls' locker room, very similar to the boys. The lockers that they needed, some showers, the toilets, ADA compliant, and then the 2 offices with the restroom there. A multi-purpose room with an office for one of the coaches, and then some storage for the multi-purpose room there. And then a weight room that has been designed for their specific curriculum and the stuff that they want to have in there. Okay. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the schools have laid out in the particular projects that we've actually focused on and are detailing right now. So we're wrapping that up with the groups we've been able to work with. I put this slide in there because it's the one that we've been working with from the last time we met with you. Right now, our numbers are kind of ebbing and flowing a little bit just based on the designs. We still believe that we're within that budgetary framework that we set before. Again, until we hit the market, we don't know for sure. We all know that. So what we do to try to help with that scenario is we build in alternates. And what that means is there may be some parts of this project that will pull out and say, give us an alternate bid. So if, for instance, it comes in higher and the alternates can't be utilized, we can still get the school to function correctly and the way it needs to be. If the bids come in and they're really favorable, we can then pick which alternates we want to go through. So So that we're working on now. The other thing that we're trying to finish populating is, obviously that's the contractor's cost, but everything else that we need to have within this overall budget. We've been working with technology and the user groups to hone in on furnitures, fixtures, computers, technology, a lot of those types of things. I know we've had a meeting with the finance department and they're trying to fill those out too. So that's kind of where we're at with the budget. Objectives accomplished, again, these are the things that we started off, the learning and wellness, the code compliance, the safety and security, and technology. During the whole bond issue process, those are our 4 mainstays of things that we wanted to make sure we hit. And we have done all of those items that are within that and feel comfortable that we can say back to the voters that yes, we've accomplished a lot of that that we set out to do. Next steps, we're getting close to finishing our documents. We're targeting right now February 26th to hit the street with our bid documents. Again, we'll have a meeting or 2 left to go with the user groups and technology to finalize some of those obvious items that we need to finish. We will do a pre-bid meeting, which we will invite contractors to the site. They will get a chance to walk through the buildings, obviously after school is let out, and then we'll do some contractor interviews. And my goal is to try to get to your March 22nd board meeting and at least give you guys the update of, hey, we did this, we've interviewed one of the contractors or 2 of the contractors, and our recommendation is to continue to talk and go into contract possibly with another contractor. So that's kind of the tentative schedule right now, because we really want to get everybody started on the exterior construction for the additions in April. The sooner we can get those guys going in that time frame, the sooner we'll have success in getting those completed. Now, we will be telling them that the start of the interior construction will not happen until after school's out. So I put the little asterisks there. So if that has to go further into the summer, that date gets pushed back. If we can get out of school earlier, obviously the better. We can get them started because there's a lot of work to be done. And then the completed the construction of the additions. We'd like to get most of that done by August 1st, but we're going to be asking the contractors, without putting a premium on it, how long do they need to get the exteriors done? Because we got to balance that premium to get things done for overtime versus the budget. So that's what we don't want to waste money in just labor costs. So.
Can you send this to us?
I have a copy of that I was going to hand out here.
We're going to need a digital copy so Beth Ann can put it in the minutes.
Yep, she has it. We put that on your computer there, so you've got the digital copy, and then Chris is going to go ahead and hand out the hard copy for you. So you have
And a couple of things, we need to be able to come up with a plan to where we can utilize the board's facility committee and try to incorporate them as much as possible in these steps that we have going on. I think that's been one of the tough things. You and I know we're right where we need to be, but I don't know that the full board realizes that we're where we need to be in the process. Does that make sense? So, I think so. So what we can do is, by keeping the facility committee of the board updated with, they can communicate and share information
Sure.
to the full board if that's possible.
No, we can certainly, I don't have a problem if we want to set up a meeting with them and kind of give them more in-depth information. We can certainly get that information.
And let's see, what about liquidated damages for the stop date?
Yes.
Is that going to be a consideration?
Yes, it will be. We will set up liquidated damages for especially the interior school portion of that project, so that we understand and they understand clearly that there will be penalties for the going over any type of dates. We do have multiple meetings, especially during the summer, with contractors on board and you guys, and we will be pushing them for their contractual agreements on their schedules, and so we go through that whole process with you guys on that.
I think it's important to note that Evan told the time frame. It might be a week earlier, a week later. That's important as well. Now, what about communicating this with the public? Is there any concerns about us putting this on the website so the public knows where we are in the process? That's something we need to talk about, maybe pulling certain slides out. I think it's important they see the floor plan and kind of what the next steps are projected, so we can communicate effectively with them on where we're
I think that's fine. I think I would not be broadcasting our budget sheets, that are out there, but I think letting them see some of the things that we're planning on doing, I think is a good idea.
Okay.
Without definite answers, realistically, how much of the additions do you expect to really be accomplished by the start of school next year?
I mean, to be honest with you, our goal is really to get those wrapped up. Now, they may be out doing some exterior work, they may be putting in some sidewalks, they may be putting in that type of stuff, and we'll have to work with them on that. The way we work, summer work, and bids like this is, I don't tell them the due date for the additions. I give them an opportunity to tell us how many calendar days they need to get those finished. Part of the contractor selection is using the dates that they give us. So if there's a guy that's slightly higher, but he can complete it a month earlier, that's something that the board and everybody wants to take into consideration. That's why we do that. So that if we can certainly tell everybody they had to be done by August 1st, we may or may not get a lot of bidders because they may or may not be able to do it. And the premium cost would be considerable, I think, for overtime. So again, what we're going to do is try to set up a importance factor for all of those components. For instance, the classrooms at the junior high are more important than the gymnasium portion of that. So if they're lacking a little bit on the gymnasium, we want them to push to get the classrooms done, just so we can get those going. And again, that's an example. The 3 classrooms on the backside of the elementary, again, we're going to be monitoring this as we go through. That's why I want to start them in April, because April and May should give us a real good time frame of what they're going to be completed by the end of August, or beginning of August, so that you, the administration, and the teachers and everybody have a plan B they may need to implement. If we get a lot of rain during that April and May time frame and they're just stuck, there's nothing we can really do about it other than try to plan around it. But our goal and our conversation to them will definitely be that we want to try and get it done.
And I think it's important maybe to let the board know, those of you on the calendar committee, we might want to push back our calendar.
That's what I was going to be my
before we ever
next
start
question.
planning for next year, seeing what, wait till March, early April, and then have our calendar committee. It's about a month to 2 months later than normal. So I hope MSTA NEA shares that with your organizations, that calendar committee's not going to be meeting for a couple of months. That way we know someone's selected, this is a projected start date, and move from there, and then start planning the calendar. Because if, I don't want to say this, but we could push it back.
A little bit.
A little bit, but that means we're getting out later.
Usually August 1st is kind of the deadline most contractors are used to. If it goes into August 5th or August 8th or something, we need to work those out. And we're at that point now where you and I, Doc, and a couple other people will be talking about what we call the front end of the spec. And that part is where we spell out to the contractors all of that kind of stuff. But again, I don't want to waste money in premiums where you can't get things.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do.
It's made me nervous that it hasn't been bid yet.
Yeah, no, and us too. And for, looking back, would we have liked to have been released 2 months early? Yeah, we would have, but it's the way it played out. We're doing the best we can, and I tell you, I think the groups behind us all understand this, and they, I think they appreciate the work that they and we put into it. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Roy. I'll be talking to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seems like you have a little stretch time. We'll move into new business now. And the first item on the agenda is a request from MSTA. My computer went to sleep. It's not, there we go. We have a request for their negotiation proposal, oops, wrong paper, to change the due date. We need a motion from the board to approve the request of the teacher organization, MSTA, to submit their negotiation proposal no later than the regularly scheduled board meeting in April of 2018. Second. It was a tie. You pick. I don't care. Renee. Take it, Renee. Okay. Any questions or discussion over that request? Okay. All in favor then of moving that proposal date to April? Very good. That was an easy one. No. Oh, sorry. Oh, I've got something here. All right, the next item has to do with the Boy Scouts request. So I need to let Dr. Corman give you some information that he has found, share that with us, and then we'll discuss further what the board would like to do.
All right, as you know, yesterday, we were able to get some more commentary from the school attorney regarding this matter. I included that to you in email. One of the questions asked of me at the last meeting was to investigate what the other districts in Jefferson County are doing. I typed that down. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review that as well as part of the attorney commentary on practices. Several emails to you over the past month from the attorney with the position regarding board policies, community use of facilities, policy KG. So hopefully you had an opportunity to read through all that. And the latest email on January 24th from the attorney with regard to the information gained from the other Jefferson County schools. So I can do my best to answer questions you might have regarding those items.
I was under the impression that we were going to hear from the Boy Scouts.
Hear what?
We put them on the agenda, and I was under the impression they were going to have an opportunity to speak to us. Is that not correct?
I don't know anything about them speaking to us. We were going to discuss the issue. That's all I know. Anybody else think of that differently?
I mean, I assumed that we were going to hear from.
I assumed we were going to hear more.
I did too.
I did too.
Well, they were good.
Okay. I'm not sure what, because he already addressed his words, right?
Well, it was in 3 minutes. I'm sure they
Okay.
probably wanted to share more.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. Is that fine with the board? Everybody wants to hear from him? Okay. Board 3, you may come forward.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Justin Crane. I'm a district executive for the Greater St. Louis Area Council. I grew up in the scouting program, and I consider it to be one of the largest impacts on my life. I fully believe the scouting program has helped me become the person I am today, and has given me this opportunity to be in this position. And just really proud of that. So the Hillsboro area has 2 PACs, PAC 406 and PAC 547. We have 2 troops in the area, Troop 406 and Troop 547, and 1 venturing crew. And as you can see, a lot of those members are here tonight to show their support as well. So as we previously discussed at the last meeting, in 2012, the Boy Scouts lost the ability to hold presentations in the classrooms here at Hillsboro. Currently, 12% of Cub Scouts age boys, so that's grades 1 through 5, are members of Scouting in the Hillsboro area. And that's compared to 20% in the rest of Jefferson County. So Scouting overall is growing in Jefferson County. We actually showed 3% growth for the district this past year, but is actually declining in Hillsboro. So in 2011, the 2 PACs recruited a total of 63 boys together between the 2 of them, and in 2017, that was 19. There's 19 boys. So all the other school districts in Jefferson County allow for face-to-face time with students to give them information about Scouting, as well as flyers about the upcoming opportunity to join. And so that's what that first document on the left side of your packet is a example of the flyer that we hand out. So it just has information about Scouting and the joining date. So that's what's given to the students. So Scouting has had a major impact on all those who go through the program. Scouting's goal is to prepare young people to succeed in life. Scouting builds character, helps develop leadership skills, and instills the 12 points of the Scout Law in every Scout. And those are actually listed on the back of the folder in case you're curious as to what we instill in our Scouts. So Ethan Cage is a Life Scout from Troop 406, an 8th grader at Hillsboro Junior High, and has been in the scouting program since 2013 when he joined as a Cub Scout. So I'm now going to ask Ethan if he'd come up and say a few words. So, Ethan, it's all yours.
I have been in the scouting program for a little bit. I joined whenever I was a Weeblo because the year before people had been coming in and telling us all about it, and I thought it would be a lot of fun. And so I decided to sign up. And the scouting program has changed my life quite a bit since then. It gives you so many opportunities to go out and meet new people and become a better person. Just this summer, I got the chance to go out to West Virginia with troops from all around the nation. I met people from Montana, Hawaii, everywhere. There were even some international people, and I made friends with a ton of people there. And before I joined scouting, I was kind of closed off. I didn't like to meet new people, but now I try to meet new people. I embrace that, and it's changed my life a lot. And if you guys let us come in and recruit new people, like I am wanting to do, a lot of them would, because they're from Hillsboro, would want to do the Eagle Scout project for Hillsboro. Eagle Scout projects are projects that the Scout does as a requirement to get the highest rank in Boy Scouts. And it's fully funded by the troop and by the person who's running it. And you guys don't pay anything, it's just a service project that we do for you guys. So you could probably get a lot of people coming back to Hillsboro to help you out with that. It'll put a lot of kids on a good path at an early age, and it's probably make a lot of people better.
Thank you, Ethan. So, scouting also gives back to the community, and that's what that first yellow sheet in your folder on the right side is. Those are just some accomplishments for Jefferson County by itself, not the council overall, not just St. Louis, but just here in Hillsboro. So the Scouts help collect 8,500 cans for the Scouting for Food drive that I assume most of you know about. Scouts in Hillsboro also provides service to the school, as Ethan was talking about. Troop 406 provides the color guard ceremony at the high school graduation. And some examples of Eagle Scout projects that have been done in the past here for Hillsboro schools. There was an honors board put in for the military, a flower bed at the intermediate school, as well as working on a nature trail here. So in 2015, a research team from Tufts University conducted a 3-year-long study to measure character attributes from both Scouts and non-Scouts. The next sheet in the left pocket, that really pretty colored one, is an informational sheet about that. And then there's a PowerPoint presentation developed by, by the research team for you to look over. The study showed that young people in the scouting program had better outcomes in character development, and that Scouts are more likely to embrace positive social values compared to non-Scouts. The six categories that were measured throughout the survey and interviews, by survey and interviews throughout the study, were hopeful future expectations, helpfulness, obedience, cheerfulness, kindness, and trustworthiness. And Scouts versus non-Scouts showed greater improvements in all of those categories. And this was in the study done by Tufts, which was completely independent of the BSA. So Scouts were also more likely to have others-oriented values. So throughout the study, Scouts were asked what was most important to them, and Scouts were significantly more likely to choose helping others and doing the right thing as what was most important, compared to non-Scouts who said being smart or playing sports was the most important thing. So I think that just shows what the scouting program does and how it puts Scouts in the mindset of just being helpful at all times, which is in the oath. Moving on to the documents on the right side. So Part 108 of the U.S. Code Title 36 is entitled Equal Access to Public School Facilities for the Boy Scouts of America and Other Designated Youth Groups. This act was written for the Boy Scouts to ensure the organization was given equal access compared to other non-Title 36 organizations, because the U.S. government believes in the scouting program, just like all the volunteers here at Scouts do tonight. So the second document, is the current publication of the act. So it's this thin one that's got the, so I highlighted some things in here that I thought might be important. I gave you the whole document so you can look over it yourself as well. So I'm just going to point out a few things as we go through it. The top left, that little that little fancy little eagle, indicates that this is an official document from the government. I couldn't even edit it at all. Nobody's allowed to. It comes straight from the government. It has a certificate with it and everything. So the first little box down here that's highlighted on the bottom left says that it comes from the Federal Register from 2006. So I've included that in the packet as well, which explains some of the things in here a little more, and has some comments from people who have read it, and then discussion on those comments. So I'll hit on that as well, but I just want to show that this is pulled from that, but that this is the most up-to-date version of it, and it was published in July of 2017. So section, or 108.3 is kind of some definitions. So some of the definitions I want to hit on was B, which is Boy Scouts. And so the Boy Scouts of America has been chartered as a Title 36 organization by Congress since 1915. And I've actually also included the list of all the other Title 36 organizations that Congress has made a charter for. So that is in your packet as well. So paragraph E defines a designated open forum, which is created when a school allows an outside group to meet on school premises, including during the hours which school attendance is mandatory, for reasons other than to provide the school's educational program. And then moving on, paragraph H on the next page defines a group affiliated with the Boy Scouts. So this would be a Boy Scout troop or a Cub Scout pack. So when it says that throughout the act, that's what that's referring to. Paragraph P defines that a Title 36 youth group is a group that is intended to serve people under the age of 21. So that's also important, as I'll mention here in a minute. So moving on to section 108.4, which is also on page 375 of this document, states that this act supersedes any state or local law, as well as school policies, since it's a federal act. And then moving on to paragraph 2 on the last page of this small document, that paragraph discusses flyer distribution and recruitment, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. And then paragraph 4 discusses how a Title 36 organization, like the Boy Scouts, must be given terms that are no less favorable than the most favorable terms provided to any outside group. That's a quote pulled straight from that document. So I just wanted you to be aware of all of that from that packet. So once again, that's the most up-to-date reading and publishing of the act. So moving on to the big packet that says Federal Register on the front of it. So like I said, this was what came out when the act was first written. And it's a lot thicker because it lays out the entire act, but also it has comments from people who are allowed to read it, and then a discussion by the lawmakers in regards to each of those things. So the first passage I want to draw your attention to is on page 14995, which is actually the third page of the document. In the right column, it's the only thing highlighted on that page. So this act doesn't even apply to all Title 36 organizations. It only actually applies to youth-serving Title 36 organizations. So some examples of that would be the Boy Scouts of America, the Girl Scouts of America, Boys and Girls Clubs. So this doesn't even apply to every single group on this list. It's only the ones that serve youth. Moving on to page 14997, passage talks about how this act supersedes any other laws, state or local, even if those laws don't fit with the act. So that's another one to look at. And then 14999, the left column, this talks about how this act does not require access for any Title 36 organization, but it just states that if there is access given to an outside group or a Title 36 group, then you have to allow it to all Title 36 organizations. The passage in the middle column is a very important one. I'm going to read quote for quote from it. So whether the covered entity must permit groups not covered by the Act to have access in order to distribute literature is beyond the scope of the Act and these regulations. So that's saying that this means that you have to allow Title 36 organizations in if you allow an outside group in, but you do not have to allow other groups in as well that are not Title 36. That is up to the school to decide that. So I just wanted to present all of this to you. I highlighted the things that I thought were pertinent to our discussion, but I didn't want to hide anything from you as well. So that is all that information included. And so what we're really asking for is not an hour of time every single day of the week. So the face-to-face time in many school districts is classroom to classroom. We come in, we speak about the scouting program, hand them the flyer, get them excited, and then move on to the next classroom. Other schools, it's a assembly with all of the students. In the past, it was with the boys, but as many of you have probably heard, we are actually becoming a co-ed family scouting program in the fall. So this will apply to all of your students. They can join. And then another time in the spring to recruit as well. And we would work with the school principals, the building principals, to determine when would be best. If that is in the form of classroom to classroom, when they've got some downtime, or during the lunch period, just whatever works best. We fully believe that the scouting program is a positive aspect on Scouts, and we want to have that opportunity for all the students in Hillsboro so that they can bring that back to the community. So I think that is everything I have to say, and of course, I hope we can discuss this further. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I ask you a question?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're with St. Louis, so you're not, these boys are with a different leader, correct?
Yes and no. So the Boy Scouts is structured that there is a central office.
Right, I understand that. But you're not specifically in charge of these boys week to week? For the month?
No ma'am, but I service Jefferson County in
Okay,
my
so
role.
let me ask you this, then how many times does your group meet in our facilities?
I'm not sure. I'd have to defer to the leaders in the area.
The PAC meets here, only on Tuesdays in the junior high and the intermediate. And
Once a month, once a week?
Once a week.
Once a week? That's the pack. So what about the dens or the smaller groups? Do they meet
all
here? Okay, do they meet individually here, though, is what I'm asking? So that would be in addition to that?
So typically, the PAC meets as a whole, the PAC meeting as a whole, once a month, and then you have your smaller dens.
That same night?
And they'll meet usually twice, so they're over the course of the month.
Okay.
There's someone here once a week.
Okay. Have you ever been denied access to our building to use for your meetings?
We have been told not to use one of your facilities at the primary, and we've had to relocate to other facilities.
Okay. And is that the building where the issue is? The
issue is, and that's not the issue. The issue is recruiting the kids into the Scouts.
During the school?
Coming in. I was recruited back in the 90s from school when they come in. I come in, my son come in, the leaders come into school, and they told him he'd come home excited, and I come back and rejoin, and now we're back in it here.
Okay.
The issue is coming in and talking to the kids and getting them excited versus just handing them a flyer and they getting stuff in their backpack and going home and not getting shown to the parents.
Okay.
So our recruiting is down. That's what the issue is.
Okay. And I want the Boy Scouts to know that it was never the issue of the organization. It's not that, all of us agree that the organization is a good organization. That's not the issue. I will tell you that straight out. We had questions about Title 36, and I see you presented some things, this document, which I haven't been able to read yet. I'm not sure I understand the groups. You have front and back, and they fall under Title 36, but you told me some can come and some can't, and that's up to us to decide?
Yes, ma'am.
It's my understanding that they have to be considered youth groups who service
Under
children
21.
under the age of 21 for them to qualify for that equal access.
But there could possibly be others on that list besides Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts on this list? Since I haven't looked at it.
That's a complete Title 36 list.
I understand that. I don't know which groups fall into the category of under 21 though.
Well, they would have to.
They'd have to prove that.
They would have to prove that to you.
Come to.
Okay.
I think, can I say something?
I thought the fear was that if, we have the Boy Scouts get access to the kids and many other groups, but this is pretty clear to me that it would only be Title 36. And on this sheet, I don't think there's, I haven't looked at it either, and how, but it
I don't
doesn't
know
seem
where
like
they are.
a lot
Looking at
would
the
be
list, I've marked them. There's
falling
the
in
Boy
line.
Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Boys and Girls Clubs of America, there's Little League, Future Farmers of America. There's 5 I've identified,
Well,
but there's very few that
Not the
actually.
Daughters,
But are they a youth group that
well,
serve
the
as?
Daughters of the Revolution, or I don't see them on the list, though.
Yeah.
I have one more question. How many times per year would you want to address the kids?
The main event would be fall, and then another event this
In the
spring.
spring. Well, we discussed or mentioned having like a club night. I know you used to have scouting night or something. Is that not true? Is that what they used to do?
I can say that. So we still have a scouting night, and that's the night when everybody comes to sign up.
Right.
But in order for them to come to sign up, we have to go to classroom or lunchtime and talk to kids, get them excited.
I see.
So we're asking here to allow us 3 to 4 minutes per classroom so we can talk to them, or 3-4 minutes for lunchtime. That's all we ask. And then if you allow us, to go to lunchtime, you're not interrupting classroom time or anything like that, we just talk to them about 3 to 4 minutes per lunch, and that's all we do. And then they know they're excited, they come to school and join scouting that we do have for the.
So who will come? Who would come?
So usually us. So Justin and I come, we talk to principal, we talk to every principal, like before school starts, we set up the best time for them to come in, to talk to kids, and usually one of us come and talk to them. And
What do you guys do with the other schools? I know we did a survey of the other schools.
Right.
Can you share?
So
what you do with the other
every single school in Jefferson County allows to do boy talks classroom to classroom. Only school that allows to do lunchroom presentation is Northwest School District. But every other school, Fox, Windsor, Sunrise, Festus, DeSoto, all other ones allow us to actually go from classroom to classroom, every single school to do presentations. Like I said, we don't stay more than 3 to 4 minutes per
Does
class.
Festus allow you in?
Yes, Festus allows in every other school. Northwest is the only school district, the other ones do only lunchtime, and also Duncan and Northwest, 2 districts that we only do lunch presentation. Everywhere else is classroom, and like I said, every school district besides Hillsboro and Jefferson County allow us to have the face time with the kids.
I'm looking at a report here. We asked 7 districts in Jefferson County. And of the 7, 2 of them state that they allow you in the classroom, and one of those 2 said they're checking to see if they're doing the right thing. We talk about lunch, but only 2 in this report showed that they let them in the classroom. So I guess that contradicts, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not, all I can tell you is you had the exact report that was given to me by school superintendents. So I can't stand here and say that Zorn is incorrect.
Right.
Maybe,
No, I know.
maybe the superintendent has a different representation of what's actually happening. I don't
Right.
know. All I know is when I sent the email out, I got the information, I included that word for word out of emails, copy and pasted into that form. And I appreciate Justin, correct?
Yes, sir.
The forms are very well presented. I want to be clear, I was a week below. Of course, the uniform didn't fit me too good, but I have nothing against the Cub Scouts. As superintendent, my job is to implement board policies as written, and I appreciate the information, and specifically here on the page, it talks about that this is equal access to facilities, and I think as we heard, that the district's never denied access to facilities. And I think the question before the board and what they have to decide is if they're going to change from being a limited public forum to being a more open, inclusive forum, which would change, like on this document, page 375, that you printed off. See, right now the district has outlined their paragraph I, we're a limited public forum. That Scouts, and I think Scouts, Boys and Girl Scouts are the only 2 groups, according to board policy, that don't have to wait 2 hours like everyone else. Isn't that right, Mr. Marino? They don't have to wait for 2 hours to have access to facilities. They can come in right after school. Or before school. That's the only 2 groups, according to policy, that can do that. But ultimately, it's a decision of the board to do what and whatever they decide is what I do.
So my question then is, if you're stating that you have a limited public forum, that means you have no other outside organizations that come in during the day at all?
Well, we have some outside organizations that come in, for example, the military, but they fall under different requirement for recruiting, such as at the high school, we have colleges come in, college recruiters that come in and talk to the kids. Parents can say, no, I don't want my child participating, or they also target kids over the age of 18 or 18 and older as part of the recruitment process. So to say no, but when you talk about classification age group, that's a different age group of kid versus our other youth groups. We have plenty of youth groups that use our facilities. The Good News Club, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, a lot of youth organizations use facilities.
And we're not denying that, and we're thankful for that we're allowed to use the buildings, because it gives them a safe place to meet and to instill the program that we believe in.
It's recruitment.
It's the recruitment issue. And it does state in here as well that, yes, the title of it is facilities, but it applies to recruitment and flyer distribution as well. That is clearly laid out as well, that it's not just facilities, but also those things.
But it's at in-school hours or when school's in session too, right?
Yes, yeah.
But the flyers have gone out in the past too,
So,
as far as you know anyway.
Right. May I ask, why is the issue coming, say, to understand if you say the classroom, but why is the issue coming to the lunchtime and talking?
Well, I can attest to being in lunchrooms, and things get a little crazy in there. I'm a former classroom teacher. Students don't always eat their lunch because they're talking and they're doing other things, and if they're paying attention to you, 3, 4, 5 minutes, who knows how long it really takes. That can be a problem, but it's a fine art getting those kids through the line and to the table and to eat and then back out again. That can be a disruption, in my opinion. I was also a classroom teacher for many years, and having somebody come in to recruit my kids to do something outside of my classroom, that's a problem.
And I'm going to say we have programs on our campus that do pull our students out of the classroom for things that aren't education related.
Example?
Smile. The Smile dental van.
That's a health service.
It is a health service, but
that's
it's
a
also
large group at one time.
That's also an outside
2 kids
organization
at a
that
time.
services students under the age of 21. So underneath this act, they would be entitled to
I
equal
don't
time.
see how that's the same thing.
I don't think that's
I mean,
the
that's
same.
Considered a
that's healthcare.
I understand, but it's still an outside organization.
We're an
that services
educational
the
place.
youth.
I mean, really, we don't have to give healthcare at the school.
Right,
So
exactly.
I kind of see what you're saying.
You know, according to the U.S. statute, they're entitled to equal time.
But they didn't have someone come into the classroom to advertise that the band's going to be out there, here's a flyer, you can go.
But they're
with your
pulling students
parents.
out of the classroom for what, half an hour at a time?
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about recruitment.
So if you're agreeing that that happens, then by the statute, you have to offer that to us.
By the statute, we are breaking the law.
And that's not what we're asking for. We are asking for some time for face-to-face interaction to get the scouts excited about this program.
We're not asking 30 minutes, we're asking 3 to 4 minutes to talk to them.
And I honestly
Okay,
don't have
so-
a problem with it, but we've got the attorney that represents us giving us a totally different picture. And I don't know. where
3
go
to
with
4
that.
minutes. That's only 2 or 3 kids asking a question.
No, there's no questions. We go over there, we do a presentation, and we are not taking questions. And trust me, you said you're a teacher. I used to teach in Liberty High School for 6 years. And I understand how it works. But coming to the lunch, and you should come with us once, you see kids are talking and they're not listening there. But when we do presentation, we quiet them down, they're quiet, they're listening. 3 to 4 minutes, they're actually listening, okay? So, there's no questions because, you know, we all want to do talk and listen. You know how many boy talks I do a day? I do probably like 50 to 70 and for like 3 weeks, so there's no questions. I do my part and I shut up. That's it, so.
Any other questions for these gentlemen?
Is the Boy Scouts name going to be changed in the fall?
There's no word on that yet. That has not been.
I was just curious.
No.
But you're here.
Is that what you want to know too?
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Everybody.
I didn't know that, okay.
We're just serving whole family now, that's what it is. And we have a girls, you know, venture, we have a venturing program for high school age boys and girls, and we had that for 30 years. So now it's including girls in our earlier stage, so.
I have heard rumblings of this for probably about 3 years, so I'm glad that you're finally here to share with all of us.
How long have you been asking for access, or how long have you been coming to our school district and wanting to chit-chat about this? I think that's important.
I'm sorry, say again?
How long have you been pursuing this to
Well-
speak to the board?
Well, no, since we lost access, I mean, I know Dr. Corman and I met last year about August, before our recruitment, we talked about it, and he said he'll talk to.
Or we email.
Well, we got
Yeah, we email, or we go
And,
first person, or we meet at Jefferson County Superintendent's Conference.
Right, so I go about at least twice a year, I go to all superintendents meeting, and I ask all superintendents for permission to do boy talks and flyers, and I always have their permission. Dr. Corman and I met last August here in his office. We were talking about program, and I asked same thing, providing a document like similar like that, ask for school access, and then he told me he will talk to building principals to see what they like, and then emailed me back, said that the building principal did not allow us to come in during school time, and they usually pass the flyers. So I've been trying to talk to the board for a long time now, and
No, you never requested to speak to the board as a group. You always ask me what the district's position would be.
right, and asking for access, and and then
That's correct, but this is the first time you ever asked to
Right,
speak
so in
with the board.
December, we asked to be on the agenda, and then we were denied for.
Last month.
Yeah, last month, to be denied, we were denied, and then that's why we came last month, December, to talk, to be on the agenda for
And that's-
today.
And I did deny that to be on the agenda, but I wanted you to come and talk to us
Right.
as a visitor, so that we would know what the concept was. We
Right.
didn't know,
And then,
really
when you
much
made the
on
decision
stuff.
last time, you were under the impression
That's
you're gonna
right.
talk today to you guys
Absolutely.
and discuss it, so.
and that was the right process, to go through as a visitor and then be on the agenda, instead of just jump on. But, is there anything else from the board that they'd like to ask these gentlemen? Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So, as a board, I guess we have to decide tonight, or what we plan to do, how we plan
I
to
personally
address
want more
it.
clarity from legal team, because if you look at page 14,999, so you guys can go to that page, that's one that I started to see about. By the way, thank you for how you presented this and highlighted it, it's very helpful. Thank you.
14,999.
I'm sorry, the federal registry package, and then page 1499 in that. The middle column there, the first highlighted section, whether the covered entity must permit groups not covered by the act to have access in order to distribute literature beyond the scope of the act and these regulations. So in our, I can't say of course too much because it's from the attorney, but in our conversations and emails, or the email that she sent out, that was almost directly addressed, but in my non-legal mind, it
She
seems
gave us
the
a different
opposite.
impression.
Exactly.
I
So
agree.
She gave us a different impression, and I was very unhappy with that.
Yeah, and
So we need to clarify that.
I think clarify that,
Because-
clarify how the dental van plays into that, just because there's just so many questions, and I think, we've talked about this a lot, and I think the more we talk about it, and the more we ask for clarity, the more questions that come back, and like, well, we need to ask that
Right.
question too.
Because
So-
nowhere in here does it state, if you're providing a free or low-cost service, you're exempt
Mhm.
from this act. It doesn't state that in this act, so I'd like to be able to read the whole thing.
Well, I mean, and I can contact your attorney and ask her to come and speak with you. I can scan all this in, send it to her, and ask for a legal opinion through email, which, as you said, might generate more questions, or at the next meeting.
Well, I mean,
come and talk to you.
the seven of us, what do we think? I mean, I think you have a point about the email communication going back and forth and generate more questions. It might be better to have somebody here to really nail us down once and for all, and to get a final answer to you guys. So you're not having to keep coming down here, and then, so we can get a yes or no, and then go that way. I think that might ease a lot of people's minds. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
I agree.
I don't think
I
it
mean,
would.
I agree with exactly what you said, that this material doesn't mesh with what she's telling us with Title 36 groups.
her answers or her suggestions, one, she didn't reference any act. She didn't say on page 14999, here, it clearly states. And it contradicts what's being shared with us, and that's concerning.
And another thought, when you go to your superintendent, and I know you're going to kind of follow up, you know, there were a couple of, at least one I
There was
know
one.
that referenced, they were going to contact their legal counsel. So, you know, if you would follow up with them after they've done that, just to get, you know, because honestly, as long, personally, I have not an issue as long as it doesn't interfere with curriculum time.
Yeah.
Because as a teacher, I like to
That's
protect my
right.
classroom time. And I do know that 3 to 4 minutes can extend, but I also know that cafeterias are crazy as well. But if you're only asking twice a year, what's, you know, grin and bear it and go on. We do that with a lot of things, so.
And I personally don't have a problem, as long as it doesn't interfere with curriculum.
Yeah.
My only issue. Just to clarify, you said twice a year. Actually, we are asking for our biggest recruitment is in the fall.
Right.
And then that's what we do grades 1 to 5. In the spring, we just like to talk to kindergarten and first grade. That's it. Because for them, we have a day camps coming up. So we just, for kindergartens, this first chance they can sign up in the spring. So we should only talk kindergarten, first grade. But fall is, you know,
Is the big one.
is the big one when we do it.
So that's hitting you twice a year. Grin and bear, right?
My only concern is the discrepancy. The discrepancy between the title, the stuff they gave us and what Celinda gave us. If we can get that figured out. then-
Well, and there will, if we make some changes, then there will also have to be some policy changes too.
Yes.
And that'll
That's
have to
okay,
be
too.
run through MSBA too.
So could we scan or email all of this to Celinda and ask her to come talk to us?
Yes.
So if we don't make a decision tonight, it's not going to hurt your recruitment at this point because you wouldn't do K through 1 till springtime. And we could make the decision for the fall if necessary then. Correct? Okay. So that still gives us some time and leeway to play with.
And we can reach out to MSBA as well. To Kelly Hopkins or Scott Summers.
I had reached out to them last week and asked them about this, and they basically shared this Federal Register with me. I have my copy.
Oh.
And they had shared that, you know,
But
equal
they didn't
access.
explain anything.
Huh?
They didn't explain anything.
No, we went through and talked about quite a few areas, and they had explained the equal access. They had to be a group servicing youth under the age of 21. And the U.S. Register, or the Act, you know, states, we don't have to allow outside groups in.
Right.
If we allow the Boy Scouts in.
Right. Because they're not.
So we had quite a conversation. It was about an hour long.
So did you by chance in that conversation bring up the dental van?
Yes.
Did you, and what was the response?
According to the Act, it does not specify if you're a low or no-cost service to the district. If you're servicing a youth under the age of 21, we have to allow equal access. Because the Act does not say your own, you know.
Right.
The Act does not specifically state that. But yeah, Celinda said,
Right. It's
if you're a low and free service, we don't have to provide equal access. But according to this Act, it doesn't say that.
Right. And it's the contradiction. Okay.
So we're going to contact Celinda. We're going to table this for now, put it into old business for next month, and request that she be here.
Yes, ma'am.
And that should give us time to read through the documents too, because there's a lot to cover.
Should the Boy Scouts be back to answer questions next month as well? If we have additional questions for them or not, just to clarify now.
I don't know.
We'll be glad to come back if you want.
Start smiling face again.
I don't care. I mean, that's up to them.
You enjoyed the meeting so much.
You're
You're gonna get to know us. We'll take a seat up here.
Come on, I already know my way through the new school.
That's right. Be able to find it. Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on?
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion then to table the Boy Scout request. What?
Make that motion.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor? The next item on the agenda has to do with kindergarten enrollment. We need to approve the enrollment dates of March 21st through the 23rd and April 9th through the 11th, so that they can have enrollment and screenings from 8:30 to 4 or something, 4 o'clock. Thank you, Beth.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? All in favor of approving those dates for enrollment? Okay, good. The next item, we are wanting to renew the financial advisor contract. You were given a copy of that agreement. This is the same advisor that we had before.
Yes, ma'am.
They were the ones that were instrumental in helping us to save money with the property out on 21, and they got the creative juices flowing and so
Make a
forth.
motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. I was digging a hole here waiting for somebody. Okay, so I have a motion to approve the renewal of the financial advisor contract. Do I have a second? Thank you, Beth. Any questions? Kelly's not here, but Dr.
So I'm
Fleming.
assuming this will be another 3-year
Yes, ma'am.
contract as the original.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have to bid it out or no? You don't have to
We
do
don't have
that.
to, since they're currently being used. We talked to the attorney about that as well, because the fee structure is such that they only get paid if they run a bond issue. So we actually had their services paid the first couple of years. And we've just been, they've been really, really good to work with.
So is there more financial situation to deal with?
Well, there'll be some
through
upcoming
them?
bonds, you know.
I mean, with this past bond issue that we just
No,
passed?
no.
Okay, that's what,
They compensate.
that's what I thought.
Any other thoughts? All in favor of approving this renewal? Okay. The next item is renaming, or naming, I guess, the cross-country invitational after Frank Schultz.
I have one thing to say about this. I love it, it's great. I just wonder, will it be a little confusing for people when they're coming, that the Hillsboro part isn't in there anywhere? Would it, and I don't want to, I know a lot of thought went into this, I'm just asking if it was considered to be called maybe
The Frank Schultz Hillsboro Invitational.
Only because I know how cross-country meets go from being a parent in there and reading that. I just wondered if that was considered.
I wouldn't think so, because we'll be the ones hosting it. You know, we have the Joe McCray Invitational, which is a JV track meet that is here. The Don Foreman Duels Wrestling that is here. I don't think that not having the Hillsboro in there is going to affect how people view it, because when we disseminate the information out to the other schools, they will say that we're the ones hosting it.
Okay.
You know, Festus has a bunch of different track meets in cross country, like the Bowls Invitational.
Yes, they do.
You know,
Yeah, I remember.
well, we know it's called the Bowls Invitational, but we know it's at Festus as well. So I don't think there'll be any confusion there. I don't foresee
I didn't
it.
know if, yeah.
I
just thought
understand
about
what
it when
you
I
mean,
read it.
but-
I thought, oh, sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Mayor?
I move to name
Thank you, sir.
Varsity Cross Country Invitation after Coach Frank Schultz.
Okay, I have a first and a second by Frank. Any other questions? You just needed to get up and walk, right?
I just said I probably shouldn't leave, so you guys vote no. No, be rude to go sooner.
Okay, all in favor of naming this invitational after Mr. Schultz?
Okay, it's voted by.
Thank you.
Oh, my.
We appreciate it.
How much grass you can cut.
Okay, and the last item has to do with approval of the lawn care service. They want to remain with MLS Landscaping for the 2018-2019 year at the same cost as the year before.
Second.
Rob?
I second.
Okay. Well, sometimes I can't tell between the two. It's my deaf ear, I guess. Any other questions after reading through the summary? All in favor of approving this lawn care service program? All right. All right. Yes, we need to read. So Beth and then Eric. All in favor? We'll take about a 10-minute break.